The first sign that my marriage was about to change forever wasn't a fight, a confession, or a slammed door. It was a quote on my wife's Instagram, posted while I was still scrubbing grease out of a sink she'd complained about for weeks. Now I know my worth, Queens. I won't accept less than I deserve. I stared at my phone like it had personally insulted me. Before we go any further, do me a favor. Subscribe to the channel, hit like, and leave a comment telling me whether social media has ever caused problems in your relationship. Trust me, by the end of this story, you'll have opinions. Here's the thing. I'm not some checked-out husband who forgot anniversaries and lived on the couch. My name's Michael. I'm in my mid-50s, and I've been married to Laura for 6 years. We'd just had dinner together 2 hours earlier, laughing, talking about a show we were watching, planning nothing dramatic at all. She kissed me on the cheek and said she was tired. Nothing felt wrong. That weekend, while Laura went out for brunch and shopping with her friends, I fixed the kitchen sink, repainted the guest room, caught up on laundry, and handled work emails late into Sunday night. I didn't complain. I never do. That's just how I operate. So when that post popped up, perfectly filtered, perfectly timed, it felt less like self-growth and more like a slap. The comments were already pouring in. Yes, girl, know your value. Don't settle. You've been doing too much for too little. Too little? I scrolled, jaw tightening, trying to understand how strangers, and worse, people who knew us, were suddenly experts on my marriage. I walked downstairs and found Laura curled up on the couch, phone in hand, smiling the way people do when their post is getting attention. She didn't even look up when I entered the room. Interesting post, I said, keeping my voice calm. She glanced at me for half a second. Oh, that? Just something I've been thinking about. Thinking about what? She shrugged, still scrolling. Personal growth, self-respect, boundaries. You know. No, I didn't know, and that's what bothered me. We'd been married 6 years, and this was the first I'd heard that she felt undervalued. No conversation, no warning, just an announcement to the world. So this is about us, I asked. That finally got her attention. She looked up, eyebrows raised, already defensive. Why would you think that? It's just a general post. Right after I spent the weekend fixing things while you were out. She sighed and set the phone down like I was exhausting her. If you're feeling some type of way, that's on you. Maybe look inward. There it was. The shift. The subtle accusation that I was insecure instead of confused. I just wish, I said carefully, that if something was wrong, you'd talk to me instead of posting it for applause. It's not that deep, she replied, picking the phone back up. I just felt inspired. Inspired. I stood there watching her respond to comments with heart emojis while people I'd hosted for holidays and helped through life problems painted me as the problem. Well, I said finally, heading back toward my office, when you figure out what you think you deserve that you're not getting, let me know. She called after me. Where are you going? To give you space to reflect on your worth, I said without turning around. Back in my office, I looked at the post again. And this time, I noticed something that changed everything. The comments weren't generic encouragement, they were specific. You've been giving too much. He doesn't appreciate you. That meant she'd been talking, sharing, building a narrative, and in that moment, something inside me went quiet. Not angry, not hurt, clear. If Laura wanted to know her worth, then maybe it was time she understood mine too. But I wasn't going to argue. I wasn't going to post, and I definitely wasn't going to beg. I was going to listen and observe, because sometimes the loudest lessons don't come from words at all. By the next morning, her post had exploded, hundreds of likes, dozens of comments. I sat at the kitchen table with my coffee, scrolling through them slowly, deliberately, the way you read something when you're trying not to react emotionally. What struck me wasn't the praise. It was the certainty. These people weren't asking questions. They weren't curious. They already knew the story, or at least the version Laura had given them. One comment from her friend Jessica jumped out at me. You've been carrying that household for years. It's time he feels what it's like without you. Another from Megan. Some men don't appreciate what they have until it's gone. Gone. Like I was some broken appliance she'd finally decided to replace. I leaned back in my chair and exhaled slowly. I wasn't angry yet. I was calculating. Laura came down the stairs wearing her workout clothes, phone already in her hand, scrolling like she was checking the stock market. "Morning," she said absently. "Morning," I replied. "Looks like your post really resonated." She paused, studying my face. "It's nice when women support each other." "Absolutely," I said. "Jessica seems especially invested in your happiness." Her expression shifted. "You were reading the comments?" "They're public," I said calmly. "Hard to miss." She set her phone down, suddenly guarded. "My friends just want the best for me." "Of course," I replied. "What exactly do they think I'm doing wrong?" She opened the fridge, buying time. "It's not about wrong. It's about more. Wanting more." I nodded slowly. "And have you told me what that more is?" She hesitated. I shouldn't have to spell it out. That answer told me everything. She left for the gym without another word, and the house went quiet. I walked through it slowly, room by room, noticing things I usually took for granted. The lights I paid for, the thermostat I managed, the calendar on the fridge, my handwriting filling most of it. I pulled out my phone and opened my notes app, not out of spite, but clarity. I started listing what I actually handled: finances, maintenance, planning, emergencies. I stopped when the list got longer than I expected. That afternoon, my phone buzzed, a text from Laura. "Grabbing coffee with the girls after class. Don't wait for lunch." I stared at the screen, then glanced back at her Instagram. Another comment had appeared, this one from her sister Rachel. "You do way more than your fair share. He should be grateful." Grateful? I smiled, not because it was funny, but because it was revealing. These people weren't just supporting her, they were reinforcing an idea that had never been tested against reality. When Laura came home later that day, she looked energized, validated. "You wouldn't believe how many women messaged me privately," she said, dropping her bag. "It really opened my eyes." "I'm glad," I replied. "What did you learn?" "That I shouldn't settle," she said confidently. "For what?" I asked. She frowned. "Why are you interrogating me?" "I'm not," I said evenly. "I'm trying to understand. If you feel you're settling, I want to know where." She crossed her arms. "You always turn things into logic and lists." "Because feelings without facts turn into resentment," I replied. She shook her head. "You're missing the point." "Then explain it to me." She couldn't. Not clearly, not concretely. That night she went to bed early, phone glowing beside her. I stayed up, not stewing, not plotting, just thinking. About how quickly perception becomes truth when no one challenges it. About how easily effort becomes invisible when it's consistent. About how dangerous it is when a marriage becomes a group project with outside opinions. I realized something important then. Laura wasn't trying to hurt me. She was trying to feel something, validated, admired, empowered, and social media gave her that hit instantly. But validation without accountability is a lie. I didn't know what this situation would turn into. I wasn't planning some grand gesture or confrontation. I just knew one thing for certain. If she wanted to measure worth, then the measurement needed to be accurate, and accuracy requires contrast. So the next morning, I did something very small. I made 1 cup of coffee. Only one. Laura stood in the kitchen staring at the coffee maker like it had personally betrayed her. I was already dressed, keys in hand, reading the news on my phone, 1 cup of coffee steaming beside me. She cleared her throat. "You didn't make any for me?" I looked up, genuinely calm. "I figured you'd want to handle your own this morning. I didn't want to assume what you deserve." She blinked, clearly unsure if I was joking. "Since when do you not make coffee?" "Since I started reflecting," I said, slipping my jacket on. "You inspired me." She muttered something under her breath and pressed the wrong button twice. The machine hissed, sputtered, then stopped. I watched quietly, not smugly, just observant. After a few tries, she managed something drinkable. I kissed her cheek and headed for the door. "What about breakfast?" she asked. "I'm sure you've got it," I replied. "You're capable." At work, I stayed focused. No dramatic texts, no confrontation. But during lunch, I made a few practical phone calls. I canceled the grocery delivery I'd been paying for, paused the cleaning service, put the landscaping on hold, nothing vindictive, just adjustments. Alignment, really. When I got home, the house felt different. Not messy, just unmanaged. Laura was pacing the living room, phone in hand. "Why didn't the groceries come today?" "Oh," I said lightly, setting my bag down. "I canceled it." "You canceled it?" Her voice cracked slightly. "Why?" "I thought you might want to take control of that," I replied. "Personal growth and all." She stared at me like I'd spoken another language. "This isn't funny." "I'm not joking," I said. "I'm listening." That evening I ordered takeout for myself and ate in my office. Around 8 there was a knock. "You didn't ask if I wanted anything," she said. "I figured you'd handle dinner," I replied gently. "You've got standards." Her eyes flashed. "You're punishing me." "No," I said. "I'm recalibrating." Thursday followed the same rhythm. 1 cup of coffee, 1 breakfast plate, 1 calm goodbye. By noon, my phone lit up. The Wi-Fi wasn't working. The dishwasher made a noise she didn't recognize. She couldn't log into the electric account. I responded with suggestions, not solutions. She tried, she struggled. By Friday, she looked tired, not angry. Tired. Papers were spread across the kitchen table when I got home. Bills, manuals, a notebook filled with scribbles. "I didn't realize how many things there were," she admitted quietly. I sat across from her. "What things?" "All of it," she said. "Payments, schedules, calls. It never ends." I nodded. "How does that feel?" She hesitated. "Overwhelming." "And before this week?" I asked. She swallowed. "Invisible." That word hung in the air. "I didn't think you did nothing," she said quickly. "I just didn't see everything." "I know," I replied. She rubbed her temples. "Jessica keeps texting, asking if I'm okay." "And are you?" She looked at the mess of papers. "I don't know. I thought I was standing up for myself. Now I'm not sure what I was standing on." We sat in silence for a moment. No lectures, no ultimatums. Just space. "I never meant to embarrass you," she said finally. "I believe you," I replied, "but intention doesn't erase impact." She nodded slowly. That night, she didn't scroll her phone in bed. She stared at the ceiling. I didn't reach for her, and she didn't pull away. It was the quietest the house had felt in years, and in that quiet, something shifted. Not resolved, not fixed, just exposed. By morning, the coffee maker was still on the counter, untouched, and so was the question neither of us had answered yet. Saturday morning arrived without alarms, without plans, without the usual rhythm that kept our house running smoothly. Laura was already awake when I came downstairs, sitting at the kitchen table surrounded by papers again, hair pulled back, eyes tired. She looked up when I poured myself coffee, 1 cup, and this time, she didn't ask why I hadn't made more. "I tried to balance the checking account," she said quietly. "I don't know how you do this without losing your mind." I sat across from her. "You get used to responsibility when no one else is carrying it." That wasn't said with bitterness. It was just true. She slid a bill toward me. "I didn't even realize how much the monthly expenses were. I thought we were comfortable." "We are," I said, "because I planned for it." She nodded slowly, as if pieces were finally connecting. "Jessica thinks you're trying to scare me into backing down." I raised an eyebrow. "Is that what you think?" She shook her head. "No, I think I scared myself." She confessed that after my small changes, her friend's advice suddenly felt hollow. Easy to give, easy to cheer from the sidelines. None of them had to sit on hold with service companies or figure out why the dishwasher sounded like it was chewing rocks. None of them had to decide which bill could wait a day and which one couldn't. "I don't think they understand our life," she said. "I don't think I did either." Later that morning, her phone rang. It was Rachel. Laura answered on speaker without thinking. "What's going on?" Rachel demanded. "Your posts are confusing people." Laura closed her eyes. "Maybe I was confused." "You said he didn't appreciate you." "I said a lot of things," Laura replied. "I didn't say all of them accurately." There was a pause. "So what changed?" Laura looked at me, then back at the phone. "I had to handle everything myself for a few days." And I realized I'd been wrong about what doing more actually looks like. Rachel didn't like that answer. Neither did Jessica, who called later, or Megan, who sent a long message warning Laura not to lose momentum. Laura read the messages aloud, then locked her phone and set it face down. "I feel embarrassed," she admitted. "Not because of you, because of me." That afternoon, she asked me to show her how the finances worked, not because she wanted control, but because she wanted understanding. We sat side by side as I walked her through accounts, schedules, decisions I made without ever mentioning them. Her reactions weren't dramatic. They were quiet, respectful. "I never thanked you for this," she said at one point. "I never asked you to," I replied. "But maybe you should have." That sentence hit harder than any accusation. By evening, she looked emotionally spent. We didn't go out. We didn't invite anyone over. We ordered dinner together and ate at the table like we used to. No phones, no commentary, just two people relearning the weight of silence. Before bed, Laura picked up her phone, hovered over the screen, then set it down again. "I'm not ready to explain anything to anyone yet," she said. "I need to be sure of what I actually believe." I nodded. "That's fair." As the lights went out, she reached for my hand, hesitant, deliberate. It wasn't an apology, it wasn't forgiveness, it was acknowledgement. And for the first time since that post went up, the house didn't feel divided. It felt unfinished. 3 weeks changed everything, but not in the dramatic movie scene way people expect. No shouting matches, no ultimatums, no grand speeches, just reality. Arriving quietly every morning and refusing to be ignored, Laura followed through on what she asked for. Not because I demanded it, not because I kept score, but because once you truly see how your life functions, you can't unsee it. She learned the budget and realized our monthly expenses were almost triple what she had assumed. She took over scheduling maintenance and understood why I tracked dates and service records like a second job. She handled one car appointment and came home shaken by how quickly a quick fix turned into a 4-figure conversation. One evening, she sat on the couch beside me and said, "I used to think stability just existed. I didn't realize someone had to build it every single day." That was the moment I knew the lesson had landed. Her social circle didn't take it well. Jessica stopped texting entirely. Megan sent passive messages about losing yourself in relationships. Rachel asked, more than once, if Laura was sure she was thinking clearly. Laura listened calmly, then did something I never expected. She stopped explaining. Instead, she acted. She started contributing in real ways, not performative ones, not announcements, not quotes, actions. She learned how to manage things so she didn't have to lean on me blindly. And in doing so, she finally understood what leaning actually looks like from the other side. One night, she came home late from what was supposed to be a casual dinner with friends. She looked exhausted, not angry. She sat next to me and said, "They tried to convince me you changed me." "And?" I asked, and I told them I finally changed myself. She explained how the dinner had turned into an interrogation, how they framed my silence as control, how they couldn't accept that accountability might feel uncomfortable before it feels empowering. She told them exactly what our life looked like, not emotionally, but practically. What I handled, what she hadn't seen, what she now understood. They didn't like that, she admitted. "People rarely do," I replied. She deleted the friends who thrived on conflict, not out of spite, out of clarity. Then she made one final post, not emotional, not dramatic, honest. "I confused worth with demands. Real value is built, not declared." The response was smaller, quieter, but genuine. A few months later, our house felt different, not because I did less, but because she finally saw more. We became partners instead of parallel lives benefiting from each other without awareness. Laura told me something once that stuck. Knowing your worth means understanding what it costs someone else to give you the life you enjoy. That sentence saved our marriage. And here's the truth most people don't want to hear. Love without contribution turns into entitlement. Validation without responsibility turns into delusion. And empowerment without self-examination destroys more than it heals. Laura didn't lose herself. She found herself by seeing me. And I didn't demand respect. I demonstrated it. If this story resonated with you, subscribe, like, and leave a comment. Tell me your thoughts. Tell me your experience. These conversations matter more than social media quotes ever will. I'll see you in the next story.